All right. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another family education and support group with your host, Parham. This is Saturday, June 24th of 2023. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're here again for the few hundredth time, welcome back. And if you're somewhere in between, still welcome. We do this each and every single Saturday. And for the most part, I know I missed last week. I did make an announcement, however, but we did miss last week. And I look forward to this opportunity to be with everybody here and hopefully add some value to your day, to the quality of your recovery. And not only just in this moment, but to give you something to linger on and to digest and kind of to explore for the upcoming week. And some things about myself. So like I said, my name is Parham. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I'm a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor. I'm in personal recovery myself too from substances. And I also say from anxiety and depression and all that kind of stuff, because chicken and the egg conversation, which one came first? I know my anxiety came long before my substance abuse issue. And I also coach high school basketball. At Aliso Niguel High School. We got a summer tournament coming up here in Vegas in a few weeks, so I will miss that Saturday, but we'll deal that when we get there. And let's see, I'm also a college instructor, professor, waiting to get my class assigned for the fall semester, hopefully. And good morning, everyone. So as you guys can see, this is a very interactive chat. What we could do is we could put up, various. Let me change the audio here real quick. Let me go to my laptop and see if that makes it any better. Now, give me a thumbs up. Let's see. First person that tells me we're good to go, we'll be good to go. Okay. I was just making sure you guys are paying attention. That's all. So what are we doing here today? 2 weeks ago, I created a talk, and it was called 15 Years of Recovery, 15 Years of Personal Development, and 15 Years of Transformation. And what I wanted to do was capture those 15 years because my sobriety date is June 13th of 2008. So what I wanted to do was to be able to capture what were the most important things from my perspective that helped me get to that milestone in life, with the intention of sharing it with others to hopefully allow them to see what allows a person to go from a very dark, hopeless, helpless state of mind and body to a place that there is empowerment, to a place that there is power, to a place that there is love, compassion, a zest for life, vitality for life. So how do we get there? That's what we're going to talk about part 2 today. If you need to hear part 1, just go back on our Facebook or YouTube page and watch it. And I'm not going to waste any time going over it. And today we're just going to start off with, actually, let me just real quick, I'll just outline them without getting deep into them. So the first thing was the belief in the possibility of human transformation. In the past 15 years, that's the most important thing that I could tell somebody, is you have to believe that yourself and your loved ones can transform. If you can't believe it for yourself, please don't believe it for your kid or your spouse or your grandkid. Like, if you think you can't change as a human being, don't sit there and say, I hope they change. Life doesn't work that way. Change yourself. Work on yourself. And whatever other people do, let them be. Let my people be. The next one is to find out, what is your why? Nobody wakes up and just says, I'm going to be in recovery today. There are reasons why we get placed into this world called recovery. It's a wonderful place, by the way. If you're frustrated and upset or sad that you're currently in it because of your circumstances, just know that the greatest transformation is right around the corner for you and your loved ones. But you got to find out what your why is in life. Our why pulls us through a lot of life obstacles and challenges. Find out what your why is. The next one was the value of support systems. Please, you got to know what your support systems are. You just got to. And you have to not only know what they are and who they are, you got to engage with them. Support systems that you don't engage with don't mean anything. Useless, right? They're useless. If you don't use them, there's no need for them. The next one that we have was doing the work. Remember that when someone discontinues the use of drugs and alcohol, the only thing that gets better are the problems related to drugs and alcohol. All of the other stuff, the childhood issues, the anger, the frustration, the anxiety, the sadness, the current, whatever they're going through in life, none of that stuff goes away when someone stops drinking or using drugs. It's all there. If anything, it's even there with more intensity because now what the person used to mask it all is no longer there. So just know that it usually gets worse before it gets better. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. Let me take off this little can't hear thing. Okay. The next one that we had a few weeks ago was to make sure that you face your fears, internal and external. Face your fears. The one we had after that was embracing failure. It's a part of every successful person's journey. There's some type of failure. I strongly believe in that. And the ones we had after that was doing the right thing when no one is watching. That's the definition of integrity. It's easy to do the right thing when there's eyeballs on you. When someone's looking at you, it's easy to be a good boy or a good girl. But when no one's around and no one cares, who are you going to be? And the very last one is understanding and implementing personal values. I believe we get lost in this world without values. Like I said 2 weeks ago, JFK said, stand for something or fall for anything. In life, you got to stand for something or you fall for anything. And you got to identify what those values are for yourself. So now let's get into today's talk. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If there's any comments, feel free to post them. I will dive right into them for you as soon as I see them, okay? So let's get into it. Number 9 is developing a daily routine, creating a new relationship with discipline. Okay, the reason I say creating a new relationship with discipline is very simple, is because all of us have a negative connotation with discipline for the majority of our lives. Now, those of you who are in recovery and have been in recovery for a long time, I know that you've redefined that word for yourself. But for the most part, think about where you learn what discipline is. When someone's doing something wrong, you got to discipline them. When the kid is acting out, they need some discipline. Discipline is always a negative connotation because it's always applied to things when they're going bad. But what if I told you that applying discipline when things are going good is the X factor in life? Discipline is defined as doing what you know you need to do, even when you don't want to do it, especially when you don't want to do it. Discipline is an act of self-love. If you truly love yourself, or at least want to love yourself, you got to start disciplining yourself. You got to give yourself the love to do the things you don't want to do. Because why? When you wake up in the morning, it's easy to say, I just want to sleep a little longer. When you have a choice between eating this and eating that, I'll just go for the comfort one. When you got a choice between going to sleep earlier, binge watching the next show, binge watch the next show. Nothing happens in that moment. But when you accumulate those moments over the course of a month or a year or a decade, all of a sudden a life without discipline leads to disaster, leads to psychological, emotional, physical problems and challenges, leads to lack of fulfillment in life. So make sure that you are tapping into discipline and discipline yourself. You don't need someone to discipline you. Discipline yourself. And here's the thing, if you don't want to discipline yourself, that's okay too. If you want to eat what you want to eat, go where you want to go, do what you want to do, to each their own, feel free to do so. It's none of my business. But if there's also a certain way of life you want, a certain mindset you want, a certain body you want, a certain a way of life, lifestyle that you're trying to get. Don't think that by doing what you want, when you want, how you want, you're going to get there. That's delusional. It's magical thinking. Majority of people that are very good at what they do are highly disciplined. So don't think you're going to become them without discipline. It is impossible. That's like the hope, right? Maybe I'll just turn into them. No, you're not. Show me how you live your day. I'll show you how you live your life. Easy, easy breezy. You know what you want to do one day? Write down everything that you did for a week. Everything you did for a week. What time you woke up, what time you slept, what you ate, what you didn't eat, where you went, where you didn't go, who you talked to, who you didn't talk to. Write it all down for me. All of it, detail by detail. Don't put anything out. Don't try to look good. Give me the raw version of it. I'll look at that piece of paper and tell you where you're headed. It's as simple as that. Show me how you live your life. I'll show you show me how you live your day. I'll show you what your life looks like. Okay. Good morning to a few people that just popped on. Judd of June, what's up? Ali, Naimipur, what's up? Tony D, to succeed, you need to sacrifice. Absolutely. Sacrifice is a very important thing. Sima June, good morning. So the next one I have is number 10, engage in your passions. Engage in your passions. Passion creates and addiction consumes. And if you don't know what you're passionate about, let me tell you how you know you're doing something you're passionate about. If you lose track of time while engaging in that activity. Now, a lot of people that come into the programs, whether they're individuals using substances or family members that have been traumatized by the substance use of others, experience something called anhedonia. Anhedonia is defined as the loss of interest in things that once were interesting. The loss of motivation to do things that at one time in life we were motivated to do. That happens as a pure result of brain chemistry, man. It happens because of substance use, trauma, secondhand substance use, watching someone go through it. Eventually that stage goes away and we're able to achieve pleasure again. Now, sometimes people 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year down the line, they're like, yeah, I still don't find joy in anything I do. Man, you're just not trying. You haven't exhausted a few options to find out which one hits and which one doesn't. You know, when you're a kid and you ride that bicycle and just before you know it, it's the time to go home and you don't know what the heck happened. That type of feeling is available to adults. Is available to adults. We can be like children, man. We are no different than a child. We just think we are. We're no different than a child. We just think we are. You can still engage in passions and find out what they are. And yes, Jim, for sure, helping others is a passion for a lot of people. And the one thing that I want to say here, I want to differentiate between Jim and just someone else that might say helping others. Make sure you do your own work first, which I know Jim has. Because a lot of times people are broken and they come in trying to help and fix other people to not really address themselves. But if you become whole and complete yourself and realize that, hey, by sitting down with another human being and helping them out, I'm actually like passionate about it. I lose track of time. It feels good. I'm good at it. And it doesn't impact the person, man. That's a beautiful thing. So one thing that we learn as counselors coming into the space is you don't work in the field to work on yourself. You work on yourself so you can work in the field. All right. So if you're ever coming into this whole thing, like just wanting to help out a bunch of other people and this and that, I don't know about that. Let's see what we got here. We got a couple people. Sue, friendly Sue, what is up? Audrey, not sure if I know you yet, but oh yeah, I might. Okay. Okay. I'm enjoying your comments. So wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's not just mine, it's everybody's. And so the next one that I have, number 11 of the 15 years of experience that I had, you know, my own personal transformation journey, is to diversify your life experiences. What a powerful thing. Diversify your life experiences. So what does that mean? When I came into the program, you know, I always say I was 25 years old. I was trying to achieve sobriety for a few years, like really genuinely trying to. I just couldn't figure it out. And at that point in my life, I was financially for sure broke, emotionally broke, spiritually broke. And what happened was someone, I remember someone telling me like, yeah, you should go travel a little bit. It's so good to go travel. And I'm looking at my bank account. I'm like $140 negative. And I'm like, man, how am I going to go travel? Where am I going to go travel? I can't even go to Mexico, Tijuana with the money I got. How am I going to go to Europe? But I remembered how important it is to just start opening up my eyes to a different world. And at the time, this show was really a saving grace for me. There's a show called Parts Unknown with Anthony Bourdain. Rest in peace. Anthony Bourdain is a world-renowned chef, really, really, really good writer. And what the show was all about was he would go to different parts of the world that other people would never go to, places with poverty and war and catastrophes, but he would interview the people that live there. He would talk about the current events. He would talk about the historical events. He would sit down at people's tables and eat food with them inside their homes. And without ever having to leave a couch, I was able to travel the world with Anthony Bourdain. Now, what does that kind of do for someone? It diversified my life experience. See, instead of just sitting around talking about sports or the weather or talking about, stupid movies like the Scarface or Goodfellas and whatever the heck my life was about at the time, I was able to talk about the financial collapse of Greece. I was able to talk about the hunger and poverty in Africa. I was able to talk about parts of the United States that I had no idea that were really different with the blend of culture they had. I was able to talk about South America and the differences between each of those countries. I thought they were all the same at that point in my life. Wow. Diversify your life experiences. And by the way, for the record, Anthony Bourdain, the person I'm speaking so highly of, passed away from suicide a few years ago. Anthony Bourdain struggled with drugs and alcohol majority of his life. He got clean off drugs, and this is a good learning lesson. He got off heroin and he got off cocaine, but he never put the bottle down. And ultimately, it was the depression that took him out. And alcoholism over the long term, man, it causes some serious depression. I think about that guy all the time. I value him and his impact on my life. So diversify your life experiences, my friends. The next one that we have here is to make sure that you are having lifestyle changes. Okay. What are lifestyle changes? They're holistic changes from the inside out. So when you get into recovery, so whether you're a person that just put the drugs and alcohol down and you're starting to trying to live a different way of life, or you're a family member that stopped the controlling, the enabling, the obsession, the lack of, self-care, when you get into recovery, you must change your lifestyle. Because is it safe to say whatever you were doing wasn't working? Safe to say that, right? Whatever you were doing was not working, or else you probably wouldn't have been sitting here listening to me in the first place. So if you can acknowledge that and accept the fact that the way I was living my life was hurting myself and others, then what's the only option? You got to change the way you live your life. But that's the dilemma. Some people don't want to do it. Some people say my old way of life wasn't working. I don't really want to do this new way of life. Well, where do you think that leads somebody? Where do you think that leads somebody? I was doing a family group every Tuesday, by the way, from 6:30 to almost 8. We do an in-person family group in Huntington Beach. I personally facilitate it. We've had about 20, 30 participants back-to-back weeks. Very, very good space. You're all welcome to come. If you're out of town, stop by when you're in town. If you live local, come down to the meetings, carpool with people, do whatever you got to do to just show up. But we were talking about emotional sobriety versus physical sobriety this past week. My friends, when you just stop using drugs and alcohol, right, you're abstaining from it. You have abstinence. Abstinence does not mean recovery. Abstinence just means that if this is alcohol inside this cup and I stop drinking alcohol, I've abstained, I have abstinence. But if I don't work on myself and the person that was drinking that alcohol, eventually this alcohol is probably going to be in my hand again. And by the way, this is coffee with 2 shots of espresso, just for the record. And changing my lifestyle. Look at this. And there's a couple counselors here. If you guys don't know, it's Tony said, change your settings, change your vision. Jim, changing my lifestyle was a lot of work. The payoff was priceless. I mean, put capital letter priceless. And changing a lifestyle is a lot of work. You want to know why? Because we are creatures of habit, good, bad, or indifferent. When, in the program, they say one thing, check this out. When you start your true recovery process, there's only one thing you have to change. You know what that one thing is? Everything. You got to change everything. And sometimes people just don't want to let go of the past in the way they were. And sometimes people say, "What? I don't want to change my good qualities." Well, okay, don't change your good qualities. Change the ones that are keeping you down and holding you down and keeping you sick and stopping your progress from moving forward. So the next one that we have here, number 13 out of 15, so we're almost through the list, is mentors and models. Mentors, models, sponsors, we can call them. So I just wanted to use different words for different people because I know that not everyone subscribes to the same recovery. Do what others do, get what others get. Do what others do, get what others get. So here it is. If you are new to recovery, which I know a lot of you are, and some of you aren't, but a lot of you are, and if you sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to start recovery now, and I'm going to do it. Who are you following? Like, whose blueprint are you going off of? If you're using your own, I have no idea where you're going to end up. I just got to be honest with you. I have no idea. So what do? You find somebody in your life that there's a sense of identification with. So you identify with parts of you and parts of them. Maybe they share something, maybe they say something, and it's like, poof, it hits. That's the first step. The second step is that person has to have something that it is that you want. Maybe the way they speak to other people is something that's interesting to you if you have communication problems. Maybe the lifestyle they have, the things they do, the places they go, the way they live their life is something that's like, wow, I want that. Maybe the way they are with their family. Maybe they keep it really tight, but they're really close to their spouse and they love their kids. And you're just like, that's what I want in my life, right? Maybe they're successful. And you're like, I want to be successful like that person. Whatever it is, you find that mentor, you find that model, you find that sponsor and say, hey, how'd you do it? Tell me how you got there. And you know what people do? They'll give you a step-by-step way to go from where you are to where they are. And here's the thing, I got to be honest. You might not end up exactly where they are. You might not end up exactly where they are, what they are, but you're going to get somewhere close. You're going to get somewhere close. And that somewhere close is better than if you just do it on your own. So please talk about, there's a couple of comments here. So let me put these up. Okay, let me see what we got here. Transition can be anxiety producing for some people. So I find that taking baby steps can seem doable. Yeah, baby steps, I like to call them small incremental steps in the specific direction. So for example, if somebody wants, you guys know I go off my diet tangents. So if somebody's having a really, really unhealthy diet, super high levels of fat, high levels of cholesterol, but they just love the things they eat and they don't want to give them up, I wouldn't sit down with that person and say, yo, why don't you be like me and apply a fully plant-based whole food diet that has no, chemicals, none of that stuff. I know that's not realistic to them. So you know what we do? We say, hey, how about one day a week, just for that one day, whole foods, plant-based, just for that day. The rest of the days, do whatever you want. And those small incremental steps, you can do this with movement. I don't expect someone to go do 3 hours of exercise a day if they're completely bedridden. 15 or 30 minutes a walk, something they can do. Recovery is the same way. Let's see what we got here. Please talk about the people who still in denial. Well, how about this? I can't talk about the people who are still in denial. The only thing I can talk about is when self is in denial. Because when the individual wakes up and is no longer in denial, it doesn't matter who is in denial and who isn't in denial, because it all starts with self. Because for everybody out there that's in denial, it also takes another person to be in denial. What I mean by that is this: how many parents have their kids struggling with drugs and alcohol, and the parents have no idea because they don't see it, because they're in denial? Happens all the time. And one day the parent has to say, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep enabling my kid. I can't keep continuing this path. I will no longer do it. See, at that point, it don't matter if the other person's in denial or not, because the parent set the boundary, and guess what? That's going to help the person see that they are also in denial. So I like to talk about self. You'll learn on this. I know you're kind of newer to these talks. I always talk about self. That's where change is made. So break the denial that you have within self and see how the world revolves. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, it does. But that's a great way to go. Sponsorship is the single most important thing in my recovery. And this is a person that has multiple different things in their recovery. So if he's putting sponsorship number one, then you got to ask yourself why. Back over here, Audrey, one more time: how to react or behave to change their mentality. Break your own denial, set your boundaries, hold your boundaries. Don't ever set a boundary that you're not willing to hold. This is Jim's advice, by the way, for anybody. Don't ever set a boundary unless you're willing to uphold it. If you're not willing to uphold it, don't set it, because it sends mixed messages that, oh, they just all talk. They say something, but they don't do it. And, keep coming back to these talks. I have some family videos on boundaries and all that kind of stuff. Go watch them and then come back and ask us questions. But thank you for your active participation. It means a lot. Shoot for the moon, and if you miss, at least you'll be with the stars. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. I follow a mentor, but in the same time, I'm paving my own road. Yeah, well, here's the thing. So, Kathleen, that's a really great point. I said that you find a mentor or a sponsor, whatever you want to call it, and by taking their steps, remember I said, I can't promise that you're going to get to where they gotten, but you're going to get somewhere close. What I've learned in all my years of experience is oftentimes the student becomes the teacher. Oftentimes the person creates an whole amazing world of their own. And it's like, wow, I guess they just did it a little bit better than I did, and ultimately we're creating a road of our own. We're paving a road of our own. We all are. Nobody's two lives is the same. I mean, I say this all the time. Good stuff, though. So number 14 is rewriting your story. So I'm going to say something. I'm going to look in the camera when I say it. You are not who you think you are. And someone might be like, what's he doing with us right now? Why is he saying that to us right now? Because it's the truth. In this moment, you are who you've been up until now. Fair enough. Good, bad, and different. That doesn't mean that in the next moment, you're going to continue being the same person. Well, you can, but it's a choice. See, how about this? When a kid is 12 years old, does any adult tell the kid that you're going to be the exact same way for the rest of your life? Does anybody ever do that to a kid? No. Nobody says, this is who you are. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to live. Anything and everything's possible, kid. But somewhere along the line, when we get a little bit older, we think that, oh, this is who we are. And we believe these stupid quotes like, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Like, come on. It really isn't. You know how many people I've seen that are older that learn new tricks? Thousands. So I don't believe that kind of stuff. Is it harder when we're set in our ways to break out of them? Yes, but if our ways cause psychological, emotional, physical pain, it's our responsibility to break out of them. It's our responsibility to break our ways that are stuck in old ways. Nobody else's. You are not who you think you are. You are anything and everything you want to be. In the program, a lot of people come in, they raise their hand, they say, I'm a liar, I'm a cheater, I'm a thief. Okay, if you're being honest today, if you're being fair today, if you're giving to life instead of taking from life, that's who you are. I don't care what you've done in your past. Who are you today? And if you do that today, next week, next month, next year, now there's two versions of you. Which one are you? Free to choose. Free to choose. Recovery is about freedom and choices, by the way. You know, if I could summarize what it's all about, it's about freedom of choices. That's why we do this, by the way. Like, how free do you want to be? We had a counselor, his name was Gabe. He would always say, how free you want to be? How free do you want to be? And the very last one that I have here is number 15. It's actually the first page of our workbook at Buckeye Recovery Network. And it says, anytime you want to quit, remember why you started. Anytime you want to quit, remember why you started. And this is probably the most important thing, I think, for families. Because when family members all of a sudden get emotionally and psychologically weak and they say, oh, I'll just help them one more time. Remember why you set that boundary in the first place. When a person stops drinking for a while and all of a sudden they go through some life stuff and they say, I'm just going to pick up the bottle and drink again. Remember why you stopped in the first place. See, remembering why you started has all the answers to give you the motivation to continue. If your why is compelling enough, if your reason is compelling enough, it'll pull you through anything. But what happens is when we get triggered emotionally and we start getting triggered and all that kind of stuff, we forget those reasons. So those were the 15 years of experience, strength, and hope. I don't want to leave yet. I want the audience to kind of share what their takeaway is from this. I think that part actually becomes my favorite part these days. So please share with us what your takeaways were from this talk. And if there was anything that you gained from it. So I'm going to watch the comments right now and I'm going to put them up on the board. And after this, I have to get on another Zoom call at 10 o'clock for a service. So I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can. So Mr. Jim said, don't enable anyone to death, including yourself. Thank you. That's probably the best part. I'm glad you didn't just stop it right there. People enable themselves to continue on destructive paths. And when you realize that you are just as important as the person that you're enabling, wow, then anything and everything's possible. That's a good caveat, Jim. Yeah, it's a good blueprint. We got some blueprints in recovery that work for people like us. And also for family members, by the way. It works for you guys too. So anybody else, what's your takeaways from this talk? We got a little bit of time. Love to hear from you. They're coming one at a time. They're going to come all of a sudden. Oh, a client says transaction. I'm assuming transformation. Is that, Tony, is that a correction? It says transformation. Let me just clarify that before I say anything. Pretty sure that's what it is. Well, if the client that Tony's referring to, this one right here, says that transformation can be exciting, it absolutely can. It is actually the most exciting thing as a human being you'll ever go through. Ever. So I don't know who you are. I know you're in the Bay Area somewhere, my friend. And Tony's a really badass counselor. I hope you know that. But just know that transformation is the most exciting thing of your life, because whoever you've been up until this moment sitting in a detox is not who you're going to be for the rest of your life. Unless you believe that's who you are. And I'm telling you, that's not who you are. Not even remotely close. You know, you got to look at it this way. People like us, when I was sitting in a detox 15 years ago, hopeless, helpless, no education, lack of family support, lack of family trust, no business, no job, no nothing, man, nothing. And today I'm sitting here, master's in marriage and family therapy, licensed counselor, a decent speaker, basketball coach, teacher. All of that happened as a byproduct of transformation. So yes, it's very exciting. Each day we can start again. Today's me will never be the same as yesterday's me. Thank you. I continue to experience and learn. We are never. And you know what? I hope I'm not the yesterday's me. So what I've done is I went and looked back at some of my old videos like 3 years ago, very cringy and uncomfortable, by the way. And I was like, wow, I thought I was so good back then. And then I look at myself speak right now. I'm like, whoa, I'm a lot better now. And I hope that 3 years from now, I look back and I get cringy about these conversations and I keep evolving, because that's the possibility that exists. Don't think that the journey is over. It goes on and more things to come. Always keep my eyes and my heart open. Absolutely. An open hand to be able to help people. Keep your eyes open, your heart open, and open hand. And it's a really, really cool thing. So, Jim, hard for me to believe that I have become the person I am today. I know, me too. Tony said, I know I haven't become yet. I'm in a constant process of change. Yeah, you know what? I've seen all your levels of change, Tony, and who you were, let's call it 8 years ago, and who you are right now are very, very different people. And my hope is that 8 years from now, who you are right now versus that is completely different. And that's the possibility. So all that being said, I think we're going to get out of here right now so I can get ready for my next thing. I love and appreciate all of you. Thank you for another Family Education Support Week. I will be back next week for another one of these. It is a holiday weekend, so the turnout might not be as much, but we'll be back and do something. And have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye.